Welcome to round 4 of Pro Tour Journey into Knicks. I'm Rashad Miller, and I'm in the booth with Randy Bueller, and we are about to watch this wonderful feature match where player 1 is Reid Duke. You saw him get second at the World Championship this last year, and his opponent, the innovator himself, Patrick Chapin.
This is a good one. Two teammates. Chapin's in the Hall of Fame, one of the members of the Pantheon. Reid Duke, #2 in the current top 25 list. So they're teammates, but we do not have for you here is a mirror match.
Really?
Almost all of the Pantheon went with a bug control deck. And so Reid has that. It's black, green, blue. It's got Kiora. It's got, Ashiok's hanging out in the sideboard. Prognostic Sphinx is really the key card here that led these guys to want to sort of line the colors up this way. So kind of a 3-color good stuff deck in its Heart of Hearts. Chapin, however, wandered off the reservation. He's the one guy on this team that went differently. He's got more of a monsters deck. So I love his deck name, according to his deck list, is Junk Rares. It's kind of perfect, right?
The power level, just lay it out there.
Yeah, he picked 3 different colors and then took the best cards he could get from those colors. Ooh, Thoughtseize.
Yeah, so Patrick Chapin lays out a Thoughtseize, and he sees a Kiora, a Corsair of Crufix, an Unravel the Aether, it looks like. And is that a Abhorrent Overlord?
I can't see. Silence the Believers.
Silence the Believers. Just an absurd removal card. Oh my god.
Absolutely. I think you take...
It's definitely a hard decision.
Yeah, I mean, Kiora's good against his deck, Corsair's good against his deck, but Silence of the Believers, if Reid gets to do that for value, is insane against his Patrick's deck.
Yeah, so Chapin takes the Corsair, which obviously is a very key card to Reid Duke's deck. So Reid draws, and it looks like he couldn't quite catch what it was he drew.
Yeah, you look at Chapin's hand, you can kind of see he wants to get Fleece Man Lion out there and on the offense. And I think that's why, okay, Corsair can block it, which is kind of annoying. Silence the Believers can kill it, which is also kind of annoying, but he's hoping he'll have hexproof by then.
Right, so now we get to see what Reid Duke drew because Patrick Chapin has a second Thoughtseize. And it looks like it's a second Silence the Believers. So obviously that's no longer the choice. Is that no longer an option as to what's going to be taken? It's either Kiora or Unravel the Aether. And it looks like Kiora hits the bin. The 4th Scryland hits the battlefield. Boy, those going to see a lot of play this weekend.
Yes. There are not many monocolor decks. There's a couple. Like you can play red heroic, black aggro.
So no devotion. We're not going to see any devotion?
There's a little bit. There's definitely some blue devotion running around. I saw Master of Waves, but not a lot. Yeah, you'll see more Constellation than you'll see Devotion, actually. You can talk about block mechanics.
Right,
and a lot more heroic.
Chapin drew a Corsair Crufix, but he decides to go with the Reid the Bones to get a couple of cards in his hand, try to make sure he hits his land drops. He sees a swamp and another card, and he considers his options.
It's funny. Corsair is a 3-mana card, but it's actually better when you play it on turn 4. If you tap out for it on turn 3 and then flip a land over, it just feels terrible.
Yeah, you just get...
Like, you have to draw it next turn. So it's oddly better on turn 4 than on turn 3.
Right. It's always good to get that card back on anything that you play if you have that, if it has that ability to do that. And a Mana Confluence comes down.
Oh, that was turn 4. Okay.
Yeah. Mana Confluence goes down for Patrick Chapin. Just a Scryland for Reid Duke and a pass of the turn. Back to Chapin. Looks like he has all of the land drops he's going to need for quite a while. So Corsair, looks like Corsair is going to come down, but not as awesome as it could be when you have a bunch of land in your hand.
Corsair? Still gain some life off of him. Not a catastrophe.
There's a Brimaz just staring Reid Duke down from the top of Patrick Chapin's library.
Yeah, Pat's deck reminds me of his Theros deck. It doesn't have a ton of synergy, but what it does have is just better cards than the opponent at just about every mana cost.
So Unrather the Aether is going to give Patrick Chapin a free shuffle of sorts, chance to put a different card on top, but he does shuffle away a Brimaz. Not to mention that Corsair Crufix is shuffled into the library.
Yeah, I mean, I think Corsair's ability to reveal the top card was actually bad for Patrick there. Reid saw that there was a good card on top of Pat's library. It was like, I will choose now to shuffle that card in.
It's kind of like a quasi 2-for-1 there.
Kinda, like 1.5 for 1,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, talking about power level, here comes an Elspeth for Patrick Chapin.
She's a good one.
1, 13. Elspeth. Sure.
Elspeth,
Yep.
Sun's Champion.
Plus.
Possibly the most powerful card in the entire block.
I think so. I think this is the most powerful. It's certainly the most format defining. I mean, she can kill the big creatures. She can block the small creatures. You know, and people have gone to great lengths to figure out what are they going to do about her. Well, you really want to play black because Hero's Downfall gives you the ability to kill her with a removal spell.
Right.
And then you want to play Prognostic Sphinx, which is what Reid has done, but not Patrick.
And she's also single-handedly the reason why there's an entire page of soldier tokens in our token binder in the feature match area. All right, so in for 3 with those tokens. That's going to bring Reid Duke down to 13. Patrick Chapin's at Reid Duke down to 17. Patrick Chapin's at 13. A lot to do with 2 Thoughtseizes and Read the Bones. I think that's all self-damage and mana confluence.
3 counter, make 3 guys, and it's your turn.
Another plus for the Elspeth is going to increase that token count to 6. And it looks like Drown in Sorrow for Reid Duke is going to wipe the board.
Bottom.
So it gets rid of the immediate threat of the tokens, but Elspeth is still there ticking up. It's still in play and it's still threatening to make more tokens and eventually just close out the game with its ultimate.
Temple of Silence.
Temple of Silence. And I can't quite see what it is that Patrick Chapin's looking at, but he's considering it.
Reid's hand is kind of funny. Drown in Sorrow, Bile Blight, Silence the Believers, Silence the Believers. It's a whole bunch of ways to kill multiple creatures at the same time, and yet Elspeth just negates all of that. It's like, okay, you can wipe the board of all the Elspeth tokens twice. You can kind of 2-for-1 them with Silence the Believers, and none of that actually gets the job done against Elspeth.
Nope. 3 tokens are back along with a Fleece Mainline, and Reid Duke just passes the turn with a bunch of removal spells in his hand.
Look at the way Patrick played that. He didn't play Fleece Mainline until he had enough lands that he could leave up the 5 mana for the Monstrous ability. And now I think I'd actually be surprised if he taps mana. Like if Reid has the ability to kill the Lion as a response, Patrick wants to have 5 mana.
Right, and that Elspeth ultimate just increases Patrick Chapin's board presence without using any of that mana that he has untapped. So he still has the opportunity to monstrous the Fleece Mainline in response to any removal spell that Reid Duke could possibly have. The 3 soldier tokens and the Lion gets in there, and Reid Duke has to consider at least tapping some of Patrick Chapin's land in some way.
No, he's going to go for Silence the Believers. Pat can respond with Monstrous, and then Reid can play the other Silence the Believers from his hand.
I mean, who's that really a win for?
He does kill the Fleece Mane Lion.
At the cost of 2 Silence the Believers?
Do you want to let him get to 10 mana and then not even be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right, but this seems like desperate measures.
Their response will take 1 and Silence the Believers again.
Sure.
So I take a grand total of 10. I'm at 7.
so Reid Duke just takes 10 damage from that exchange of...
Just 10.
Yeah, just 10. Just 10 damage. Those tokens are effectively... They're 9/9. They're 3/3s, right?
Yeah, and then a mana confluence that he had to tap.
Yep.
The Bile Blight will kill the last 3 tokens, though.
That is true. They are still within Bile Blight range.
You got it.
Go.
So now the board's effectively clear. We're sitting at 7-13, but Patrick Chapin has another Elspeth in his hand, alongside a Hero's Downfall.
And I think that's why he went ahead and went ultimate on the first Elspeth, even though she died, even though she only had the 7 loyalty.
All right, and speak of the devil, there's Elspeth. 3 1/1 tokens, which, thanks to the previous emblem, are going to be 3/3s. And Reid has seen enough. Patrick Chapin takes game 1, thanks to Elspeth and Elspeth.
Not bad. It's interesting. I don't entirely understand Pat's deck because it doesn't have the synergy. It doesn't feel like a traditional archetype, but totally got the job done that time.
All right, so we will continue with game 2 of this match right after this.
Possess the power of Vintage Masters. Available exclusively on Magic Online, Vintage Masters contains Black Lotus, Time Walk, Ancestral Recall, the 5 Moxes, and more. Magic Online Vintage Masters pre-releases start June 13th.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and I have a very special guest with me this week. You may know him from Tap Tap Concede. It's Graham Stark. Graham, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. Graham? Graham, I don't have another guest. What is this? That's going to do it for this episode of Limited Resources. Please join us next week.
Head to your local game store on May 24th and 25th for the Journey into Nyx Game Day. Play in a fun standard tournament and take the final step on the hero's path by defeating a god. Visit wizards.com/magicgameday for more information.
All right, back down to the feature match area. All right, so we're going to take a sneak peek or a live look in at Table B, which we have Li Shitian versus Andrea Mengucci. This is our King of the Hill. And I kind of joked that maybe we should have brought, a little crown or maybe a Nicol Bolas ears to hand off to the winner of that. And they thought it was a good idea, but I didn't. but I didn't bring them. I did not bring them, so you're just going to have to trust that that is what we're actually going to be looking at.
Yeah, Mengucci, we were talking about these decks during the break. He's playing what I think the best name for this deck is, in fact, Red-Green Elspeth. Essentially, Red-Green Elspeth, it's got a lot of green monsters. It's got splashing white for Elspeth, which is super important and powerful. And it is really good at beating the aggro decks in the format. It's had a lot of luck on Magic Online lately, beating those aggro decks because Elspeth is so powerful, and because the rest is removal spells like Magma Jet, Lightning Strike, Banishing Light, and then big monsters. Stormbreath Dragon is super big.
Now we have
Polish Crusher.
We have quite the game state here. Let's look a little bit at Mengucci's game state, and he has a Corsair Crucifix. He has 3 mana creatures in the form of a Sylvan Caryatid and a couple of Void Instators. He only has 3 land, but he has an Elspeth in play, and it looks like it's been there for a couple of turns because there are 5 soldier tokens that are on play. And if you look over on the other side, there's a set of of Corsair
full house,
Crucifix.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We're gaining 3 life every land drop over for Li Shitian.
He's got full houses full of Banishing Lights.
Yeah, we got a couple of
Banishing Lights.
Yeah, we got a couple of Banishing Lights. It looks like one Banishing Light has taken out a Corsair of its own alongside a Domri Raid.
And then I think Xenagos.
Oh, a Xenagos. Elspeth sitting on the top of Li Shitian's library, so we're going to see an Elspeth fight probably sometime soon. We're in the middle of combat here, and it looks like a bunch of tokens and 1/2s jumped in front of a Corsair Crucifix just to get rid of one of them, I guess.
Oh, my.
Silence of the Believers.
Yeah, we saw this card in the first match. One of the key removal spells. If you're one of the slow black decks, you're playing black and your controller, Silence of the Believers is just spectacular.
Even any deck that can make fast black mana, it's going to take great advantage of that.
Yep, at its best here, but I agree with you.
Right,
so it's looking pretty good for Li Shitian there.
Yeah, but Elspeth is still sitting there ticking away. All right, so we will keep an eye out on this match for you guys. We have our floor reporter, Tim Willoughby, who's going to be giving us updates. But for now, we are back on our main feature match, which is Patrick Chapin, who is up a game against Reid Duke, the number 2 player in the world of Magic the Gathering. All right, so the temples face off yet again for both players.
Chapin's had quite the career there. 250 lifetime pro points, 4 top 8s. And he's been, on the Pro Tour on and off ever since the very beginning, too. I think Season 2 is when he made his debut.
Yeah, and that very great finish at Worlds. He was a runner-up in Worlds with one of the most exciting games of Magic I saw in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
Or the
beat
semifinals.
Nassif. Yeah, he beat Nassif, although the super dramatic moment was the game that Nassif won.
Right.
Just absolutely crazy. The video is worth looking up if you haven't seen it.
Top 3.
All right, so Ashiok hits the battlefield. And the plus ability is going to remove, looks like a Courser and an Elspeth and one other card slightly off camera. And you see that the Courser is put over by the Ashiok because, Ashiok has the ability to bring that into play with its minus ability.
Go.
So Reid Duke scries a land and keeps it on top, passes the turn. There's a Fleece Mane line for Patrick Chapin, which looks like it's going to threaten to...
Yeah, you just attack Ashiok. Right?
Yeah, it's going to take 3 counters off of Ashiok so that at the very least the Reid doesn't get a free Corsair Crucifix, right?
And those Ashioks are in from the sideboard of Reid Duke's deck. They don't start them. They bring them in.
Attack Ashiok.
So Ashiok goes down to 2 loyalty. And the follow-up play, 2 mana, is another Fleece Mane line. Playing into Bioblight? Is that a consideration?
Ooh. He apparently not, because he is going to get destroyed here by that Bioblight. I mean, it could be that the Ashiok on the other side of the table means that he
You have to
couldn't
do what you have to
afford to
do?
wait. Yeah, you do what you got to do. I mean, you could take a look at Pat's hand, and what else was he supposed to do? I guess he could have gone Courser. No, he doesn't have the second green mana for the Courser.
Right, he could have gone Banishing Light. He has a Banishing Light in his hand. He does have the 3 mana to cast that.
Yeah, you could tell when as soon as Reid did the Bioblight, Pat knew that was a possibility. It's not like he just stumbled into it, right? He picked those creatures up immediately, like he knew he was making himself vulnerable to Bioblight. He just decided that was the right play.
Yeah.
Didn't have the second green mana for the for the Courser, and didn't think Banishing Light was sort of the right tempo play there. He really preferred to develop his board and try to kill Ashiok with damage.
Right, but now Chapin really didn't have a lot of choice. Banishing Light or Hero's Downfall with only 2 cards that would deal with it. And now Prognostic Sphinx comes down. And we just talked about that in our pregame. This card is nigh unkillable.
Yeah, Prognostics. Oh, and he just misses this Thoughtseize.
Take intrusion.
So there's another sweet one in his hand. So Thoughtseize just took Psychic Intrusion
Yes, Psychic
out of Reid Duke's
Intrusion.
hand. Did not expect to see that showing up at the Pro Tour. I'm not going to lie.
That has
When I was
gotta be
thinking
on
about
the
block
sideboard.
constructed. No.
Really?
Psychic Intrusion is hanging out in the main deck.
If there are any format that card would be good, it's got to be a block format. You got a nice small card pool, so...
Yeah, now it's a one-of, to be fair. But yeah, super powerful, there's not a lot of ways to get card advantage in this format. Right? There's not a lot of card drawing, right? You can read the bones. But I mean, you know what? You can steal a card from their hand and then play it.
Yeah.
It's a sweet one. Yeah, the Miser's Psychic Intrusion, one of in the deck.
Get a good look at Reid Duke there. He's in the tank. Corsair Crucifix revealed on the top from Corsair Crucifix. Yeah, all of that tanking was from the Prognostic Sphinx actual,
Oh, the scry ability.
Yeah, the scry ability. Not only is it a 3/5 flyer that you can't kill, when it does
With
attack.
anything.
Yeah, with anything. When it attacks, you get to scry 3.
Corsair of Prefix. Sure.
I guess you're supposed to Fated kill it? Fated Intervention? Is that the only one?
Probably.
I guess it's a non-enchantment creature, right? It can die
Yeah.
to the
And
black card.
Yeah, Extinguish All Hope.
Extinguish All Hope, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so Corsair Crucifix for Patrick Chapin. He reveals a Reader Bones on the top, but still needs his land drop and a second Corsair for Reid Duke. So he's gaining 2 land off of every land drop.
Attack and scry 3.
And he gets to scry 3. So now we see the
You
top
think
card.
he's going to hit lands with his Courser?
I think he's going to hit lands and draw the best card that he wants.
Wow, he's so lucky the way his deck's going to wind up.
Reid is very
He's going to
lucky.
draw spells, reveal lands, gain 2 life off of them. Yeah, that combo is quite sweet. Prognostic Sphinx combo with Courser of Crucifix. Again, another one that I didn't necessarily see coming. This is not what people are doing in this format on Magic Online. Well, at least not until now. There's probably people out there scrambling to go trade for Prognostic Sphinxes as we speak, hop into a block tournament.
All right, so Read the Bones for Patrick Chapin is going to pick up that Hero's Demise, which doesn't really have a good target right now.
Yeah, I mean, Pat's sitting on 2 Elspeth, which was awesome last game, but last game he went straight to 6.
Yeah, and I believe right now we are scrying, and since the top card of Patrick Chapin's library is revealed, Reid Duke does get to see all of the cards that Patrick Chapin draws. But he doesn't get to see them right now while he's scrying. So there are two heroes downfall. So effectively forces Reid Duke to discard 2 cards if he aims them at Prognostic Sphinx.
Yeah, the Prognostic Sphinx is going to clean up here. I don't know what Pat's supposed to do about it. Like, he's supposed to win before it becomes relevant, right?
25. Scry to the bottom.
All right, so Reid Duke doing what a scry deck does when it has a Corsair Crucifix in play, which is always get a land drop off the top of your library and draw the best card. He attacks for 3. We've been kind of ignoring the life total of Patrick Chapin, but you know these 3s add up. He's going down to 8 from this attack.
All right, I
It's gonna
found a
be 8
card.
after I take the damage.
Yeah, 25.
I see what they're missing. I found a card. Arbor Colossus.
Ooh, Arbor
Colossus can block.
It could also force Reid Duke to discard a card, you know, because the Monstrous does destroy a flying creature.
True.
But what is he going to do about the second Prognostic Sphinx that Reid Duke has on the top of his library?
Well, I mean,
Scrying, life,
the Colossus keeps blocking.
9.
Yeah, it does keep blocking.
Okay, Colossus answers any number of Prognostic Sphinxes. I mean, they become... You can Alpha Strike and just lose a Sphinx for every Arbor Colossus. But yeah, those 2 copies are hanging out in Pat's sideboard. I mean, I'm sure this is something he thought about. I mean, talking to a lot of the planes, it's not like Prognostic Sphinx is going to be a huge surprise to the big teams. You know, like we said, both flavors of Channel Fireball came up with Prognostic Sphinx as the key card to these sort of mid-game control-ish decks. Both of them decided to splash blue just to have the Sphinx, and instead of having Elspeth. So they're expecting it. Oh, jeez. Listening to a report from a back table where Shahar Shenhar has 3 Prognostic Sphinxes in play at the same time. How do you feel about Scry for 9?
Scry for 9 is pretty good. I had to think about it for a little bit.
Well, turns out they all went to the bottom.
Wow.
9 cards on the bottom of his library.
What is he looking for? Or is he just, you know, you have to be a
Showing off.
perfectionist. You got to be a perfectionist when
I
you...
could do better. I mean, until you're in the last 3.
Well, the
might
10th
as well,
card,
right?
the 10th card is the charm.
5 cards? 5 cards.
So it looks like Reid Duke's running away with this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Second Prognostic Sphinx, and Patrick Chapin just doesn't have any cards to interact with anything on the board.
Yeah, Pat's playing this out, hoping he can get an Arbor Colossus, but
There's a land. He at least gets to play that off the top. Gets a little bit of value. He also has an Elspeth that he can put on the battlefield. He'd be tapping out, but it would not last very long, given the board state that Reid Duke has over there. Or gain him 6 life. He's at 9. It's relevant.
sounds like we just got a result from the future match area as well. Matt Sperling wins 2-0, taking out Frank Karsten.
Oh, wow. This pretty fast format.
Yeah, speaking of scry, by the way, Matt Sperling was scrying with 2 copies of Aqueous Form.
On the same creature?
I think so. I mean, he's playing the white-blue heroic deck, so Aqueous Form is, one of the enchantments you can load up on top of your heroic guy in that deck.
Seems like unblockability is a great ability. It's going to be good in this format because there's a lot of creatures that just kind of sit around and do their thing without having to attack.
Yeah, and we talked about, speaking of the enchantments, he's piling up on whatever it is. A couple ordeals and then an Aqueous Form on top.
Just the icing.
Seems okay. I kind of thought Reid would have won this by now.
Well, Reid Duke, not one to hastily rush into some decision. It looks like he needed to give his Sphinx hexproof in response to these.
Pat's starting to fire off his creature removal.
Yeah, and these must be before attackers are declared because not only does the Sphinx get hexproof, but it taps.
Right.
So this buys Patrick, some extra life. And, I mean, this is the time you're going to do it if you're going to force Reid Duke to discard cards to, counter, effectively, the hero's demises that he has in his hand. But you really don't do anything else. All right, so Ashiok comes down. And it looks like it's immediately going to be plus. So we're going to get rid of a Thoughtseize. There's going to Corsair Crucifix, and it looks like a Mana Confluence that goes to the exile zone. It looks like Reid Duke wants to get in there with some 2/4s. All right, Patrick Chapin gets attacked down to 8, passing the turn back, and he only has a couple of Elspeths in his hand, and it doesn't look like those are going to get the job done. Is there a card that he could possibly draw to... Well, actually, you can see exactly what it's going to draw. It's a Pelucranos, and I don't think that gets it done. All right, so Pat's going to probably play this Plains. Plays the Plains. Goes up to 9, which is relevant.
Wow, I just heard in my ear that Andrea Minucci holds on to King of the Hill.
The king?
The king is still the king.
The king is still the king.
Li Shitian missed. Oh. Elspeth made a bunch of tokens, which made Xenagos make a bunch of mana, which allowed Minucci to play 2 copies of Stormbreath Dragon on the same turn. Smash!
Usually one Stormbreath Dragon is enough, so...
I wonder if they got monstrous too. How much mana there really was in the story.
See, now you're greedy. Now you're just being greedy.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, mana's fun. A lot of mana's fun. All right, so Silence to the Believers is sitting on top of Reid Duke's library, and he's going to attack with the Prognostic Sphinx. Looks like one of them hit the graveyard somehow. The whole Scry 3 thing every turn kind of slows down the pace of the match.
Yeah, we may need to train our cameramen to figure out what the proper scry position is on the floor.
But now Dissolve is sitting on top, just looking to ice the game for for Reid Duke. Ashiok activates again, gets some goodies. Another Thoughtseize on the top for Patrick Chapin, but it's a little late for Thoughtseize.
Go ahead.
Draws Thoughtseize, has a Mana Confluence on the top. Plays it, gains life, goes up to 10.
Pat's been putting up a really good fight here.
Yeah, I thought I kind of put him out of this game,
Yeah, me
but
too.
he's clawing back into it. He got rid of one of the Prognostic Sphinx, and now he's threatening to Thoughtseize, possibly take enough cards out of Reid Duke's hand to get rid of the second Prognostic Sphinx. Although we might be a little far from that.
This seems like a matchup. I mean, they're teammates, right? I'm sure they tested against each other at some point. I mean, I doubt they ran these decks against each other all that much, but more it's like usually play a gauntlet deck against the deck you're thinking about playing. Point being, though, that Pat knows how to deal with a Prognostic Sphinx. You're like, how do you kill it? You can't possibly kill it. Well, if you can accumulate more removal spells in your hand than they have cards in theirs, then in fact you can kill it. You just have to run them out of cards in hand. Thoughtseize contributes to that plan. But yeah, Pat was just able to save up enough that he actually killed one of the Sphinxes. And now he can play an Elspeth without having it die right away, so he's starting to accumulate tokens now, too.
Right, and Elspeth is just factorying away at those 1/1. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with one Sphinx on the other side of the table, Elspeth can make 6 tokens before she dies.
Right.
Declare attack.
All right, so in comes the Sphinx. It's going to finish off that Elspeth, but, you know, there's still 6 tokens
now
left in the battlefield.
6 guys. Pelucranos has joined the party. That can attack through Courser and Caryatid.
But now we're back on the Prognostic Sphinx versus Patrick Chapin's life total game.
Needs 4 turns. Courser's gained him enough life that he's still got 4 turns. And there's a second Elspeth in Pat's hand, too, which can also make 6 tokens. Or more if Reid doesn't turn his attention to it.
Ooh, and there's
Okay,
another
second Sphinx.
Prognostic Sphinx. Not to mention that we have quite a few cards underneath Ashiok. One of them's a Brimaz, and one of them's another Courser, and it looks like we're going to bring a Fleecemane Lion down for 2 of the 4/2 off of Ashiok. So a little bit of card advantage over on Reid Duke's side. He's able to deploy threats without using valuable cards in his hand, you know, so that he can save his Prognostic Sphinx if he ever has to. So Patrick draws a card. Almost played that land accidentally. But instead it gets a mana confluence to come down. Gains life, goes up to 11. Reveals a Brimaz.
Thought sees you.
And Pat's attacking the hand again. Looks like he wants to try to get that Prognostic Sphinx more manageable. Reads down to 2 cards. One of them's a Forest. The other is Ashiok. Both probably willing and ready to be discarded to the Sphinx at any given time.
Yes, Reid's hand consists of magic cards.
They're not quite pack rats, but, you know.
God's willing, my Polychronos.
Resolves.
Protection from green.
All right, so Pelucranos is going to get protection from green from God's Willing. So I smell an attack at Ashiok coming up.
Makes sense.
There aren't any non-green creatures that are left back to block, so Pelucranos gets to attack whatever he believes he wants to. And Ashiok goes down. And there is an Elspeth. This game has been turned around. The only threat that...
Remember when we were trying to figure out what match we were going to watch while they shuffled up for Game 3? This wasn't that long ago. Chapin's just like, no, I got this. Just got to accumulate more removal spells than he has cards in hand. Then I can kill one Sphinx. Then I can play Elspeths into the other Sphinx. Oh, Ashiok? I can beat Ashiok.
Now we got a good old-fashioned race. It's a race between 2 Sphinxes and, you know, just a slew of tokens and a Pelucranos over on the other side.
But, I mean, the 2 coursers on Reid's side, I mean, he's up over 30 and continuing to gain 2 life for every card he puts into play.
Now, Pelucranos hasn't been monstrous yet, so there's a potential of that guy to get really big. But the backup Ashiok that Reid Duke had in his hands comes down, and it picks up a Brimaz, so...
Sure.
Ashiok ready to contribute to Reid Duke's victory.
Attack Elspeth and scry 3.
And Prognostic Sphinx is going back for the Elspeth again.
Yeah, that makes sense. You certainly don't want her to go ultimate. Then Pat wins that race. Plus, I mean, once you commit to attacking her too, the second attack kills her. Pat's out of gas. His hand is now a swamp. Reid doesn't have much in his hand, but what he does have is Scry 3.
Yeah, Scry
Seems
3,
like-
and it looks like he has 2 more cards sitting on the top, and another Scry 2, and a second Sphinx. So now he's up to Scry 6 plus 2, Scry 8 next turn if he likes.
His hand's empty. Just a forest, right? It's a forest to a swamp, so they basically have the same amount of gas.
Yeah.
Is that how this works?
Yeah, they both have the
Sure.
same amount of gas, in theory. One of them scrying 6 to 8 cards next turn.
Right. And with Reid the Bones on top of his library. Now what, Pat? You got more up your sleeve?
Well, it isn't up his sleeve yet. He's going to play a land to see what's on top, and there's Brimaz yet again. But we know that Brimaz is probably going to eat or get eaten by Ashiok. So it goes to the bottom.
Just goes to the bottom.
And there's a mana confluence. So that's one less card that we care about getting removed to the Ashiok.
Did Pat forget to gain a life with Courser?
When he attacks Ashiok.
Looks like he's at 10. Not sure if
He was already at 10.
not sure if our life total is up to date or if the trigger was actually missed. It's possible that the trigger was missed.
It's a lot of, what is that, 9 tokens attacking in the Courser?
That is 9 1/1 soldier tokens attacking. A Corso Crucifix, a Pelucranos.
Reid says, this Fleecemane Lion's handy. 4/4 hexproof?
Maybe,
I'll
yeah.
block with that.
Maybe you should have put him in his deck.
He had access to Chapin's list. Chose to run this one instead.
So Elspeth goes up to 3. 3 more tokens hit the battlefield. So he's back up to 9 tokens.
It is
But that Elspeth is not long for this world.
your turn.
And your top card should flip back over.
Yeah.
Draw.
So Reid draws, Read the Bones, reveals a Silence the Believers. Not really the most effective removal spell right now, but I don't know if this is a game really about
What's the
removing
other
all of
one?
those tokens.
All right. I'll concede.
All
so
right.
Patrick Chapin said he's seen enough. And
Wow, he put up quite a fight.
but we will be having a game 3
will.
between these two.
It was 21 minutes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think we've got, what, one other feature match still going on?
Yeah, it looks like we have the Shahar Shinhar versus Tom Martell match, which is still in progress. And we are going to do a little live look-in on this table to see
Great.
what's actually going on between these two Pro Tour veterans.
All right, Shenhar is on the left of your screen. Martell is on the right.
And it looks like we have a couple of, we definitely have one bug deck on the left side for Shahar Shinhar.
Yeah, they're both playing Bug.
Yep, so they're both playing Bug, and Corsair Crewfix, which has got to be the card of, I'm just going to call it, it's the card of the weekend.
Corsair?
Yeah, Corsair Crewfix. It's been in every matchup we've seen, although we've only looked at one round. But
Yeah,
we've got a couple of those in play alongside a Prognostic Sphinx again, and a Reaper of the Souls. Couple of Sphinxes over for Tom Martell, just holding the fort.
well, that Reaper, did that come from an Ashiok? So I didn't think the Channel Fireball original team was playing Reaper.
It did come from Yasha.
Yeah, they're not.
It's in a white sleeve, so
There you
it's
go.
definitely not part
Yeah,
of Shahar Shinhar's deck.
Yeah, this is the almost mirror, right? This is the two different Channel Fireball teams. So this is the two different Channel Fireball versions of this deck. Martell is a member of Pantheon, and those guys, it's funny, they got to the point where they started panicking yesterday about how good Reaper of the Wild was against them. They're like, what do we do if people show up playing Reaper? And they figured out the best thing they could do is have Reapers of their own. And like, I don't know if anybody else is going to have it, but now they're like sideboarded against each other somehow. And apparently, it makes opposing Ashioks better.
Martell contemplating an attack with the Prognostic Sphinx.
Well, attacking with one Sphinx, he's not going to get through because Shahar will, of course, just block with his own. But he does get to scry, and then the two Sphinxes can bounce off each other.
So this was basically a Scry 3
Yes.
without,
And he was willing to tap a creature.
right. So we don't have the life totals, but I'm willing to believe that Tom Martell would not win that race if he were to attack with both of his Sphinxes.
Yeah. Ooh, 16-7, it sounds like. Yeah, Shahar definitely on the aggressive. That Reaper seems really good here. And yeah, the CFB original team, CFB Prime, can I call him that? I like CFB Prime. See if I can make that
sure,
happen.
we can make that stick.
All right. CFB Prime ran Ashioks in the main deck. They really thought that was the way to set the deck up for this weekend. And in particular, because it's good against the other control decks, like what the Pantheon guys are playing.
So Shahar just swings with the team because he's way ahead, puts a land on top, and now Tom has to decide how is he going to deal with, this onslaught of creatures that's coming at him.
Yeah, Sphinx on Sphinx makes sense. It seems like the Caryatid blocks a Courser, and then you're at 1. I mean, I don't know how to do better than that.
Oh, that's how you do a little bit better.
A little bit better. Can't
But-
kill the Reaper, though. The Reaper of the Wild is quite the card here.
Yeah, you could gain hexproof. And let's see that there should be a scry trigger here for Shahar Shinhar. It looks like he might miss it.
This.
Yeah, it looks like he missed the scry trigger. Gainsay on the top.
Bottom.
Oh, so this was the scry trigger.
Okay, there you go. Oh, she's one draw phase.
Oh, no,
Tom.
that was the scry from... Yeah. So we'll go back to table, our main feature match, which is Patrick Chapin and Reid Duke. We'll definitely keep
sure.
you filled in on the other match. And if we finish our match and there's still magic to be played, we'll go back to Tom Martell and Shahar Shinhar and so we can see how that mirror match is going. Here we go, back at our hero table.
Okay, you could stop. Thank you.
Reid Duke, Patrick Chapin. Chapin leads off with the Temple of Malady. Not Milady. I kind of want to call it Milady.
I know you do.
It's so classy.
I've heard you call it that several times this weekend already.
The joke's that old already, so
Sorry.
so I shouldn't do it right now.
It's
Is what you're saying.
I still like it.
Temple of Milady
Top. Go ahead.
stays on top, says Reid Duke.
That's easy.
Here's a Thoughtseize. It's been tearing up hands in Standard, and now it's doing the same in Block Constructed. And we look at a Kiora and a Hero's Downfall Prognostic Sphinx. Looks like a Ashiok and a Corsair Crucifix.
Yeah, Pat's hand's got Boon Satyr, Courser, Hero's Downfall. So with that in my hand, Ashiok?
Well, Ashiok goes.
Ashiok.
I think Pat does he have a second Thoughtseize in his hand? I believe it looks like he has a second Thoughtseize, so he's able to, because it looked like that Sphinx would be the perfect card to take with that Thoughtseize. It's one of the easiest ways to get rid of it when you have that opportunity, right?
Fair. That's a good point. You have time, though, if you have another Thoughtseize.
Yeah. So a lot of scrying and setting up for these players in the beginning of the games. Not a lot of action as all of the lands come to play tapped and have a lot of decisions, alongside them.
All right, so Martel did scoop him up, by the way, against Shahar. So that's the match, right? Yeah. Looks like they're doing the decompress at the end of the game, so Shahar wins.
So Patrick picked up a Boon Satyr, so he may be able to go aggressive at the end of the turn with a flashed in 4-2.
Go.
Consider.
Looks like that's the plan, and the only card that Reid Duke has that can kill it right now is a Hero's Downfall. He doesn't have the mana to play it right now, so he's going to take 4 at least.
16.
And he's going to have some decisions to make. He can either lead with his Corsair Crucifix, or he can destroy the Boon Satyr if it's actually a threat in his eyes. Patrick Chapin plays his own Corsair Crucifix, reveals a Hero's Downfall on the top of the library, not a land. He has a land in his hand, so he's not going to miss that land drop. It's another Temple of Malady. So now we get to see how important that Hero's Downfall is to Patrick Chapin. Looks like pretty important because he didn't even touch it on the top of his library. just left it there.
Scry to the bottom.
Oh, excuse me.
How many cards do you have?
3.
All right, so Reid just picked up a Silence the Believers. A little bit more mana efficient if he wants to spend all of his mana to kill one of Patrick Chapin's creatures. Is that the play here, or is Reid Duke looking to develop his own board state with something like a Kiora or his own Corsair Crucifix?
Courser's pretty tempting.
Doesn't exactly hold back the Boon Satyr. Threatens a trade, which, we probably don't think would ever happen. It does hold back the opposing Corsair Crucifix, and
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking it holds off the opposing Courser, and you get to play lands off the top of your library. I mean, it's both life gain and card advantage there.
right? And
Yeah, I like the Courser line.
yeah, he gets a card off the top of his library, gains life. He's up to 17. His life total is not really in danger right now. He's probably going to take 4 from the Boon Satyr and go to 14, but that's not too bad. 14 is still a healthy life total. The Coursers are going to kind of just stare at each other because they're not going to get into the red zone. And there is the second Thoughtseize for Patrick Chapin, which is going to even a life total to 17. But Reid's going to go down a card. And he's got some good ones in there.
Yeah. I think you have to take the Sphinx, right? Isn't it just so hard to deal with?
I'll take Silence the Believers.
Oh,
I guess not.
Takes Silence the Believers.
So 17.
Huh.
Interesting, because there's still a Hero's Downfall in Reid Duke's hand, so it doesn't leave him without a way to, destroy a creature. Maybe the plan is the Sphinx is not as good if you play all the other cards in your hand. I don't know.
Downfall the Courser.
Downfall takes out the Corsair, so no more card advantage engine for Reid Duke.
Yeah, Pat's going aggro. He wants to win this as quickly as he can.
Turn.
I mean, the fact that you can't kill the Sphinx, but you can tap it with your removal spells. Oh, you know what I think Pat's line might be? He's got a Boon Satyr in his hand. So if you're Reid, you block Courser, right?
Go ahead.
I mean, the Sphinx is going to block.
Yeah, the
He
Sphinx.
can't just take 7 more or 6 more.
Right.
And
It's gonna-
so the bestow ability on the Boon Satyr is going to kick in.
Yeah, actually does bestow on either of those creatures. If Reid decides to block, obviously block
Right,
the Boon
whichever
Satyr
one he
would-
blocks.
Yeah, and the safe block of blocking the Courser isn't safe enough either.
1911.
But now that Reid Duke sees the first Boon Satyr, do you think that he's...
Well, yeah, he knows it's there, but you can't afford not to block. What, are you going to take 6 down to 5?
Well, it looks like Patrick Chapin didn't attack.
Really? Oh, is our hand wrong? Does he not have a Boon Satyr in his hand?
Oh, that was the old Boon Satyr.
That was the one that was in play?
Yeah, now he has
Oh, my.
a Temple and the Arbor Colossus.
Okay,
That just wasn't updated.
got it.
I'm waiting to see a Kiora hit the battlefield. We've seen them in hands. They just haven't quite gotten to the stack yet.
Yeah, so Pat played that Temple. It's kind of too bad for him that his... Or no, yeah. The Hero's Downfall is coming. This Hero's Downfall can just tap the Sphinx, which is not bad. Meanwhile, look at the beauty of a card that's sitting in Pat's hand.
Bottom.
Arbor Colossus.
+1 on your
All right, so
Satyr.
Kiora is going to hit the battlefield. It looks like it bubbled. Can't be sure which one he actually touched. There wasn't
Sure.
any visual representation. But we're going to assume it's the 4-2. Pat finally has a 6th untapped land, so he can lay this Arbor Colossus right now. Not a lot of counter magic in the blue deck for Reid Duke. Actually, we haven't seen any, so. And Reid only has 1 mana open, so.
Downfall Kiora.
So it looks like Hero's Downfall is going to be the play to get rid of the Kiora. It's not going to use this opportunity to get his Arbor Colossus online. Just wants to get that Planeswalker threat off of the board
Your turn.
and free up his other creature.
Read the bones.
Yep.
It'll take me to 9.
All right, so Reid the Bones. Let's see what Reid Duke is looking at. He sees another Reid the Bones and the land, pushes the land to the bottom. So he draws Reid the Bones and a Sylvan Caryatid. So you just run the second Reid the Bones out there. Is Reid Duke just looking for anything else?
I mean, if you're ever going to cast it, then the sooner the better.
Still just a lonely Arbor Colossus for Patrick Chapin.
Go ahead.
Oh, passes the turn with 3 mana up. Is this a little bit of representation?
Maybe.
He did show a dissolve game 1 on the top of his library off of a Corsair Crucifix, so possibly representing that. And it looks like Patrick Chapin's testing the waters with the Fleece
Continues to
Mainland.
slow roll that Arbor Colossus.
Downfall Courser.
So the 3 mana is for Hero's Downfall. And it looks like Corsair Crucifix has been
Well, you
high on the
have that.
priority list of getting rid of for both of these players.
All
Is
right.
that card just that good?
Yeah.
Is it just that important for all of these decks?
Yeah, I mean, it is a long-term card advantage. So, I mean, if you're in a stalemate and one guy has a Courser and the other guy doesn't, the guy with the Courser is probably winning. Reid has kind of been forced to leave his
Game
Sphinx
1
on
of 10.
defense here. So he's not getting to take advantage of those scries. Now he's got Courser advantage.
Read the bones.
Now he's going to play the Reid the Bones that he picked up off of that previous Reid the Bones. He's looking at a Bile Blight and a Temple of Mystery. I can't imagine keeping the land. Looks like he's going to keep the Bile Blight. At least it's an immediate answer to the... Oh, it's not an answer to the Fleece Main Line because it's already been monstrous.
So it's 8 to 19.
It is 1819.
All 19.
19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19. 19.
Not a lot of action in Reid Duke's hand. 3 mana sources and a Bile Blight that can't actually kill anything that matters a whole lot. But Prognostic Sphinx is going to attack, and that's going to let him scry 3. 2 on top, 1 on the bottom, and there's a second Sphinx.
Go ahead. About 5 minutes.
All right, so Thoughtseize for Patrick Chapin's going to see the Bile Blight, which was
No,
really
it's
the
gonna
only
force him
great
to respond
target.
with the
Yeah.
Bile Blight.
My Sylvan carry it to.
You have just Forest and Confluence.
Yep.
All right.
How much time did you say?
All right, so now we're both down to a lot of nothing, except for Arbor
I
Colossus
attack
for
with the
Patrick
line.
Chapin. When are we pulling this trigger? What are we waiting for?
It's time. He was waiting for Thoughtseize, I think. Clear a path.
He had to have been playing around some type of counter magic.
Well, I think Hero's Downfall is effectively counter magic.
Yeah.
Right, you play your Colossus. If Reid just kills it with a Hero's Downfall as a response, and he was sitting on a Hero's Downfall for a while. I mean, Pat really wants to be able to untap, defend it. I don't know, monstrous it. It's never going to work, but yeah, I
Right.
think Pat wanted some level of confidence that he'd slogged through all the Hero's Downfalls. Yeah, now Reid's down to 5 here, right?
Yeah, Reid's at a precariously low life total. And Patrick has a 4/4 indestructible attacker / blocker that he can get in there willy-nilly.
Well,
to-
Sphinx blocks it.
Yeah, but that means it's not blocking the Arbor Colossus.
True. He's attacking with just Colossus?
That looks like the play. And that's just a chump block. That's not
wow,
really what
that's
you
not normally how the Arbor Colossus takes down flyers.
And he's not able to do a double block with the 2 Sphinxes because Patch has enough mana to monstrous it and make it a 9/9.
Your turn. On your upkeep, I will Monstrous Arbor Colossus.
All right, so the monstrous ability tries to target
Game
the
1 up to 6.
Prognostic Sphinx, but Reid Duke discards a card. He's just going to give a Hexproof and tap it, but now
Yeah,
he doesn't-
tapping it was all Pat expected to get out of that, and all he needed to get out of that.
Arbor Colossus. Go to 2.
He's obliged to chump the Colossus. Pat Chapin's going to win this game. Unbelievable.
Yep, and there's the handshake. Patrick Chapin wins this match 2-1 over Reid
Wow.
Duke.
Force me to do it on my turn.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that's how you beat
Prognostic.
Prognostic Sphinx.
No problem.
Doesn't matter. I mean, Reid Duke drew, 7 over the course of those 3 games?
I think something like that.
Yeah, 7 Prognostic Sphinxes, and it just didn't matter. I mean, they got the job done game 1, but
Hey, scoreboard. Chapin is wins the game 2-1.
we need a scoreboard here for us to point to
Right.
in these situations. So yeah, that was awesome. We saw how many different decks did we just see in this feature match area? We saw
A lot of bug control. I think there were 3 bug control
there are
decks.
3 bug control decks, but at least 2 flavors.
Two flavors.
of that bug control.
Totally fair.
We saw a junk list.
Mhm.
We saw we saw 2 junk lists or just 1?
But we didn't get the white blue heroic on camera, but we got to hear about it.
We just heard a lot of awesome things that are happening over there.
Yeah.
All those things that you did or you've had done to you in limited matches where someone plays, a turn 1 anything, turn 2 ordeal, and then then it becomes
I don't know that I've
unblockable.
ever gotten to add aqueous form on top of ordeal.
You're not doing it right.
I need to draft more.
Yeah, you
Clearly
need
I'm
to-
not drafting enough.
Yeah, well, I've never done it either, but Brian David Marshall has done it enough against me that I
Right.
know I know how it's done. I'd never do it myself. But yeah. So, and we also saw. Oh, we didn't see the match with. Oh yeah, we talked to Matt Sperlin and Frank
Yeah.
Carson. And what was Frank Carson on? Was he also on
Bug
the
control.
on the bug control deck?
Yeah.
So a lot of flavors of Corsair Crewfix, which seems to be what everyone wants to be at. You want to be able to play your Corsair Crewfix, and you want to be able to play it preferably off of some mana fixer so that you can play it, turn 3 without playing a land drop and draw that land.
Yeah.
And, kind of get that card advantage engine going because there isn't a lot of ways to draw cards in this block.
Right. It's true. Yeah, I think we did see 4 bug control decks that round, but a lot of that is just because both Channel Fireball teams landed on the same sort of control-ish deck. There's not that many bug controls in the room. Like, I think between the two of them, they make up the vast majority of the people playing that whole archetype. There's actually a lot of diversity out there. So.
All right, so we're going to sit it down back to the feature match area with Tim Willoughby, who is ready to interview Patrick Chapin.
Hi, I'm Tim Willoughby here with Patrick Chapin. Now, you've just beaten your teammate in the first round of Constructed. Not ideal to be paired against someone that's on the same team, but still must be feeling pretty good. Playing something a bit different?
Yeah, I guess different than I used to, but the same I do all the time now. I'm playing kind of a mid-rangey Thoughtseize beatdown deck.
And something kind of cool, just spotted while you were playing, that actually on your deck box, it says something a little bit different. I don't know if you can pick this up there. It says Patrick Chapin Enchantress. A little bit of little gamesmanship there with your opponents, perhaps?
No, I wish I could say that it's like, some bluff or anything, but I just picked up the deck box that I had. I was on Enchant, I actually crossed off what I had on there, but in testing we have all the boxes labeled that have all the different decks, and I was on Enchantress a few days ago, and I just forgot to update the box, so I'm glad it doesn't have the right answer on it.
And quite a lot of decks in this format. That's one of the hallmarks of this format. It seems like there's loads of good cards to go around, right?
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of powerful cards, but there's a nice distribution of them across the different colors, so I think there's going to be a lot of people bashing good cards against each other this weekend.
Plenty of good cards to go around. Patrick Chapin playing quite a few of them. Congratulations on your win this round. Plenty of games still to go, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll hand you back to the booth now. This is Tim Willoughby with Patrick Chapin.
Yeah, so Patrick Chapin was originally on the Enchantress deck, and he's talking about the Eidolon
Blossoms.
Yeah, and you actually had a chance to draft that deck, and
you
look like you were having a lot of fun.
Wow, that was a good one.
That was probably the most jealous I've ever been in a draft.
It's the only time I've ever gotten the Nihilius' presences before you. Like, I normally try to, 5th, 6th, 7th pick. It doesn't work if you're at the table.
Well, the journey into Knicks has changed everything.
Okay, got it.
We're going to send it back to the news desk so you can find out what happened during all the other games and the rest of this round. So take it away.
All right, thanks very much to Rashad Miller, Randy Buehler. I'm Rich Hagan, and I'm here at the start of Block Constructed. Plenty to bring you, but we want something from you, and we want you to ask us anything. At the end of round 6, during the dinner break, we're going to do an Ask Us Anything here at the desk. There'll be me, there'll be Marshall Sutcliffe. You want to know anything about limited resources or limited in general, he's your man. Zach Hill will be here at the desk as well. What's life like working inside R&D, working on making the best Magic sets you can possibly make, and also a special guest, Mr. Louis Scott Vargas. He will represent, if you like, the pro angle. What is life like on the Pro Tour? So ask us anything using the hashtag PTJOU, Pro Tour Journey, if you like. PTJOU, ask us anything, and we'll get through as many of those as we can during the dinner break at the end of round 6. Plenty more to come. Now, we're going to show you a scoreboard, which is not a true leaderboard yet. 43 players got to 3-0 after their draft. Here are 20 of them, and here's where they stand going right now. Down the bottom on the right there, you see Ellie Pichon and Brian Braun-Duin. They are still playing their matches, so they're still technically at 3-0 here at the back end of round 4. Everyone else in the light blue, they finished their matches, so moving to 4-0, there's 11 of them from our 20 select. Rietzel, Josh Utter-Layton, Todd Anderson there, you see making it to 4-0. Froelich from Channel Fireball, Larson, the Swede, runner-up at Pro Tour Gatecrash behind Tom Martell. Andrea Mengucci, well, he really is making a name for himself. He came in as the man waiting to be slain by King of the Hill Sean McLaren at the start of round 1, but he took down the reigning Born of the Gods champion, and since then, he's won, and now he's won again. He is still King of the Hill at the quarter mile post. Andrea Mengucci, 4 wins, no losses. Jamie Park, twice top 8 at Pro Tours. Patrick Chapin, you've just heard from there. Vidugiris, a Pro Tour runner-up. Darwin Castle. Now, he was 3-0, as was Rob Doherty. Rob Doherty, you see on the right of your screen, he's fallen to 3-1. Wafa Tapper is 4-0. And then your Magic Online champion, Lars Dam, 3-1. Fabrizio Anteri, 3-1. The Slovenian Robin Dola has lost. Reid Duke has his first loss. Martin Muller of Denmark, the 16-year-old who made top 25 last time around on debut, still in the hunt, well and truly, but has his first loss at 3-1. Also, Shi Chanli. And as I say, we're waiting for Elie Pichon and Brian Braun-Duin to finish up their scores. That is not a true leaderboard, remember. 43 players began this last round at 3-0. These are just some of the better-known players, you might say. So, still some results coming in. With quite a little time left on the round, there were a lot of results still waiting to happen, suggesting anecdotally that block may be a little slow. And you certainly saw a ton of permanents in our feature match area. Definitely something to keep an eye on. We knew about mono-black aggro, we knew about mono-red aggro, we knew about blue-white heroic. Are the aggro decks going to get taken down in a blizzard of Elspeths and prognostic sphinxes? We'll find out. And right now, we're going to find out from someone who really, really hopes that control is the way forward. It's our first deck tech of this block constructed Pro Tour, Brian David Marshall, and playing Esper Control, it's Shaheen Sarani.